Live streaming is on.
All right. So yeah, we're at the, not sure which number it is, but okay, nice. So yeah, let's talk meeting notes. John, are you taking some meeting notes?
Right. Sorry.
Or someone is already typing a bit in there. Is that?
I was typing a little bit.
Oh, nice.
I could be a recorder for the day.
Yeah, okay, that sounds great. I'll write your name then. So yeah, for today, I figured, well, some small things. I just asked people in the channel for whether I should continue with the room pings. Most people seem to like them. There's like one person not liking them. People can turn off notifications. Unless there's like a lot of people disagreeing, I'm just going to continue doing those. Something else, right? Chris left the team since last week. He doesn't really have time to work on Nix anymore right now, so that's all right. And did Alex? Yeah, Alex joined the team since last time, or last time. Yeah, but that's about it. I don't think we need to talk too much about that. So yeah, for today, I guess I figured let's just go through the issues and pull requests in the auto-called packages RC draft. That's the one we want to focus on right now. And for that, I think I'm gonna just share my screen here. This makes it the easiest. Let's see this one. All right. So for now, we don't have like a project board here. I'm not sure if that's needed. If we need one, we can add it later as well. So we have a bunch of issues here already. I think maybe let's sort by age. Maybe newest, or let's see, recently updated maybe. Yeah. I do want to take a look at Robert's peers. I guess those have kind of the higher priority. So he made a suggestion here to not use a default.nix package, but instead a package.nix file, or rather, I think package. Yeah, let's look at the changes here. So alternatives. So he suggested here to call it package function instead. There's no real good reason to use the default.nix file for this, and that does make sense to me. I, in a comment, suggested to call it package fun.nix instead, because function is a bit long to type. People might want to not have a super long name to type all the time.
Fun, right?
What?
Function is not fun.
Sometimes, yeah. but yeah, what do the others here think?
I'm confused what the bullet points have to do with the original. I thought it was just like, should we call it default.nix or not? But then the bullet points seem to be about conflicts.
Backwards compatibility.
Yeah, so yeah, this is not a standalone proposal to change the file name. It's a div2 proposal, and maybe that's why you're confused.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The div here is only the the other. The green and red parts. Right. Yes.
Oh.
But yeah, I think that I feel like it should be described in here in the PR somewhere, and it currently isn't actually.
Yeah, I kind of like default.nix. I mean, maybe it's too sneaky, but typing package function over and over again, it's like
Well,
the
You kind of won't be typing it because the reason to use default.nix is either nix-build, or I think this is what you're referring to, is when you explicitly import a path in an expression, right? And you can only
Well,
default path.
let me flip it around. What does before there was the auto directory, is now there no more auto directory? Is that also?
no, that's a separate discussion. I think this is really just the file name inside all of the autocall directories. And
Well, what's the
I
short?
think
What's the short and the path part?
what's the short in the file path?
It says shorten the path, rename to package settings. What's the shorten the path part? That might have something to do with the auto.
Oh, yeah, actually, Robert, I don't think it shortens it. It just
Yeah, I think it does slightly. Oh, the point is not really just shortening, but also
Well, there's no auto.
making it future-proof. So the underlying sort of goal is to have directories for packages, right? Where you can have more than just the package definition. I think it would make sense to do it. That is.
Because you're thinking maybe that, okay, you're thinking maybe there'll be tests or other things in there besides the package function.
Yeah, and also we can, I mean, Flakes kind of already went that way with kind of separating the inputs declaration and the outputs and kind of making that, well, actually they still use a function. But there's arguments for like not wanting to have a package function and instead just have a package attribute set, which then gets is easier to discover and handle. And you can,
well.
Yeah, this is what we discussed, John, during the next team meeting just now, where we have the arguments in the fixed point rather than function from arguments to package, right? That would require basically a new file name to distinguish.
Oh, well,
what kind of autocall.
Anyway, my mind can only take so many steps, but
yeah,
it sounds to me like the crux of this is before we had, and now we're having, and it was auto but alpha equivalent, and now we're having name / package function. So like sort of ignoring, the exact choice of identifiers and other things, the crux of the issue is sort of like transposing a matrix. Do we want package function being a concept on the outside or package function being a concept on the inside? Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's the underlying thought with the reason to pick a different file name is because it allows this transposition to happen.
Like the old one, you could say, oh, well, we can only have one thing inside package function / name or auto / name, but we could have something else / name.
Yeah.
And then the new thing says, no, those should go like we should have not directory per concept, but directory per package and multiple things inside it.
Yeah, that's my 2 cents, is that we want to keep each package together. This also works better with like code owners and stuff like that. And in fact, something we might want to consider is like code owners or like even just notification rules, like for package sets like GNOME, which may be multiple individual packages, like what's the easiest, or what solution will work well with that, something to consider.
Yeah. I do wonder if we need to do that right now, because we could also have that be an entirely separate thing where we make the transition from a default.nix to a package fun.nix. Because
true.
in the end, we could
that would only be a rename and not really a transition.
Yeah, it would only be a rename. It would be, well, let's keep it backwards compatible. Let's allow default.next that kind of always has represented the package function until now. But now you can also use package-fun. Honestly, I don't see a big benefit there. I guess it's more self-explanatory. But we just, default.next is reserved for package fun. And if you need other things, you can use other file names. We can still standardize other file names.
But we are renaming things anyway. Why would you?
That's true, yeah.
It twice. I don't follow.
Well, small steps. Small steps are easier to get through.
Yeah, I'm not saying that like we're going to move everything into these directories right now. It's just thinking one step ahead, and like with no extra effort, you can avoid a future migration. Because it's just the following.
I guess I don't see I do like this proposal. Like I'd be in favor of this, but it is like something that is controversial, and to do such a thing, I feel like we need some good justification for needing it, because like this entire directory structure restructuring has the benefit of making contributions a lot easier. But the default.next to package fun transition doesn't have a lot of benefit as like immediate benefit I can see.
Well, it does. People won't be as likely to run Nix build and expect it to work, right?
Oh, okay, that's a good point. Yeah. And you have.
That's
That is a fair point. Yeah. That is the kind of, perhaps it is the number one question I've seen asked on IRC and Matrix, people wanting to next build the default.nexus in these like the package functions, but it just doesn't work. And
so if it was instead of auto but package function /name, that would also clarify it.
What do you mean?
Like I did my choice between the old thing was auto /name, but it could also be package function /name, and then you have the disambiguate, the extra hint to the user.
But the next build tooling, next tooling would still call the default.next.
If you like cd there and just run next build.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, versus you have to at least type down a file name. That's true. Another barrier to entry. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you, Sylvan. I don't super care, but I'm not against this. I think it's a benefit that the more we standardize things, the easier it is to change later. A little worried about bike shedding, but this, let fewer foot guns for new users. And I certainly remember trying to build individual packages running next build. So soft support. It's I mean, I would not want this to tank the whole thing. If people really hate it, I would go back to the old one, because
of course.
The most important thing to me is still just consistency and less boilerplate. But if people like it, and there's definitely reasons to like it, then I like it too.
Yeah, sounds good. Just want to quickly ask Tom, what do you think about this?
I actually want a little bit of clarification. Can we get one of these examples and actually fill in like an example? Because I'm not sure what package function here refers to.
I think that's literal string package function. So like example packages. I guess it's this, right? So auto hello package. Well, I'd say package fun, but let's call it function.
Okay, thank you.
I think the auto was gone. Maybe.
Yeah.
Proposing to make it PKG. And all of it.
Okay. That's even if we. So I
Well,
think we still might want another layer of directory, because there's stuff like build support, which is not a top level attribute. And I wouldn't want those things to like live in the same directory as actual bona fide packages. I would want a separate directory for all things conforming to a specific structure.
well,
Yeah. To throw into that knit, like auto is like, I see why we're picking it because it's kind of like automatically part of the top level, but it like, especially once everything is there, it's a really strange name. Maybe we can just call it packages top level, and then we can put the build support stuff in like packages build support. Although I guess those are also available on the top level, so maybe not, or maybe they should be in there because they're top level available.
Yeah,
top
no,
level, that's
I'm not
already-
I'm not wedded to the name auto. I just want there to be another directory. I mean, hell, in a way, packages top level is fine. Packages/packages is silly, but it actually makes sense. These are the packages. The top level packages is just like Nixpkgs that ended up in the repo with NixOS.
But I think if everything should be in a flat namespace, which I think is what we're thinking, then it does make sense just to not have another directory for lib and stuff like that. Well, or lib could be a directory, and then like because it has like submodules, which are kind of a different thing, and they could just live inside lib.
Well, hold up. The flat namespace is for the packages, but that doesn't mean that everything implementing Nixpkgs is also in the flat namespace. I mean, for example, like that, those are two different concepts. Nixpkgs isn't just the things in a single package set. There's all the bootstrapping, there's all the other stuff, which definitely is a separate concept. Maybe that could be moved to the top of the repo, but it shouldn't live next to packages.
So I think the main thing is that we want, I mean, the goal with this is to make it easier for people to contribute new packages and update packages. And I think, so it's only like an optional thing. We want to transition to this structure, to such a structure for all the packages, for the Leaf packages, for the Firefox, well, not just Leaf packages, all the packages. And right, the stdnf stuff, the lib, those are currently just out of scope. If people, that could be in scope in the future, but we don't need to worry about that right now. That's kind of up to convention what people think in the end.
Yeah, no, well, I'm not saying we have to deal with those now, but for me, a hard requirement is we're trying to make a bunch of things that live next to each other that all conform to a standardized model, and they're the only things in that directory. There should be a directory where this is all stuff that fit the convention. If it doesn't fit the convention, it doesn't belong in that directory. Otherwise, it's a slippery slope, and like we'll get back to some ad hoc state.
Yeah, and so if I get that right, the proposal by Robert here to kind of have, I mean, let's see, like PostgreSQL. Yes, I mean something like this, where right you have like a Postgres package, you have NixOS module, you have the manual section, release notes, and so on in the same directory. This would then kind of interleave all of these standards, like a standard NixOS module, which is interleaved with the standard package structure. And in my opinion, that sounds like a good idea to kind of have the same domain in the same directory. But
yeah,
I guess you're saying
for things that are like associated strongly with a package. But I think what he's trying to point out is things that are not, like the top level build support, which is like, if anything, it's its own package, right? And I think it does make sense to have, at least for the transition period, like a package for like things that don't fit in, or a directory store for things that don't fit in. Things like the fetchers and stuff like that. Now, some of them are pretty close to packages, and maybe we can just consider, like, maybe we should not call it packages. We should talk about everything that you import. But
I guess
think it makes sense.
Actually these are
none of those are
these are less. Yeah, it's more functions, I guess, and also
I'm not calling them packages really. I guess like the only thing is that they're loaded with a thing called call package, but Like I think these things all like they are loaded call package, but they return a function rather than a package. There's nothing
Right.
really wrong with that.
Well, for
I
me,
think there
like,
is.
yeah, no, the top, like, I think it's a complete error in Nix packages that fetch URL is a top level attribute in Nix packages. If we had types and things, you should not have random utilities hanging out in your namespace with your actual packages.
So I guess
So-
what if we had a future structure where it's packages.fetchers.github.get.url and so on.
But
So it's
even-
all
but
nested
even
under
the-
single.
But fetchers is also not a package.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not-
it's
I'm
nice
not
if we
trying
get
to make,
every attribute
like-
in package and we get a
Mhm.
package back. Like that's kind of a nice property.
Can you say
If
that
anything,
again?
fetcher should be in lib, right?
Can you briefly say that again? Start was a bit.
Oh, like it would be kind of nice if we could build everything in package and get a package out, right? These fetchers are not packages, right? Like if we call them packages.fetchers.something, they're still not packages.
Yeah.
We can argue about how much of a bad thing that is, especially because a lot of the things that are supported, like Firefox, has like lib helpers as well to like customize the profile sets preferences. So I don't know how much different the fetchers are. Sure, they don't have a default package, but they also contain like stuff that you're supposed to accentuate like the other things do. Like in my mind, maybe the best option is just move away from calling them packages at all. Just say this is just a directory of stuff. And we can use like flags or tags of some sort to determine what's a package versus what's a method or whatever.
Yeah, and I guess we also need to mention that the directory structure doesn't have to match the attribute structure. The directory structure should be easy for people to contribute, and so all the related stuff should be together. But for attributes, we can do something completely separate if we
I
want
think
to.
part of the motivation was that people are shocked that this package structure is all detailed in ways that attribute structure isn't.
Yeah,
Like I'm not trying to like litigate what the end result should be, but I think during the transition, there'll be things that have been converted and things that haven't been. So I think it's sort of like we can both defer the final decision and say during the transition page, we want to separate what's been converted and what hasn't yet been. And so just to kind of keep our options open and have some hygiene, it makes sense to have the new stuff in a separate place than the old stuff. And
Yeah,
whatever the end goal is, our fetchers in a fetcher package or their own packages, all that stuff we can return to later, and just we don't make a decision on that one way for the other now. We just say that you can literally count the things you can count progress by seeing how many things are in the new directory, and you can count remaining things to be done by seeing how many things are elsewhere. Just very simple, like at a glance.
So should we maybe so proposal? Let's change the RFC to only do the transition for packages, not functions like fetchers, and other special values. How about that? So we yeah, and I feel like that's right. We don't need to do everything at once, but I feel like this is something we could agree on for now, that we're just going to limit the scope to that. All right,
Had your prototyping moved things that weren't packages out of curiosity?
I think actually so. Yeah. Wait, let me auto calling.
Yeah, I just want to add this point about the structure. Like, sure, okay, it might be under auto or something, but it should be very, very close, if not identical, to where things will end up as attributes. The difference between attribute structure and directory structure is one of the kind of weirdnesses with right now. There's a mismatch. By making everything flat, you're far closer to what expectation would be. So if something's in some like, let's say we do have something like build support, or we have something like a set of packages under which the directory kind of makes sense to refer to, then Python packages, Perl packages, right? Having that be in a directory is more intuitive than trying to discover where else it might exist.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think like as we get closer, we'll either decide that fetcher thingies and other stuff goes in the top level after all, or we'll decide because it's in the same separate directory, it should also be in a separate attribute set. But either way, the invariant Tom's talking about is maintained. It's just there's a little bike shedding to do long term about how we enforce that. But yeah, that should definitely be the goal. There's
Yeah, Tom.
I think he said he had to go, and then he raised his hand, but then he left. Maybe he hit the wrong button.
Oh, maybe. I feel like we should come back a bit to to this kind of discussion. That was the thing we originally wanted to talk about. So as far as I can see, there we had like this is a good argument, and I think nobody really opposed it for now. So I think we can pretty much go for that. Call it package fun. Oh, and I see Tom made some proposals up here for what it could be called instead.
Yeah.
So prototype derivation, prototype blueprint, default mix, package.mix.
I swear that some of the multiple people editing stuff is kind of jank.
Are you struggling with the?
Yeah, I like hit backspace too many times and I got confused what was going on. I
use the Vim mode in the Hedgedoc, which is nice. Also an Emacs mode.
I know they had those.
Do we want to quickly bike chat over the name here? I think it matters, but it's not that important.
I think something that says function, fun or function, that should be fine. Because part of the goal is to represent what it is at a technical level. Because we do want to change that at some point.
Yeah. I think I agree. And if we're gonna say package fun, we might as well do PKG fun. That's then even the same length as default Linux, is it? It is, yeah.
Oh, look at that! I like that one too.
Hey, sorry, y'all. I can.
Hey.
Yeah. Hello.
Monday is an excuse. The excuse is Monday.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. You can.
I need to hook that into my calendar just because I just completely forgot over the weekend.
Yeah.
So
what?
how's the auto calling work? I have over the weekend I did the sharding in my giant node package repo with a gazillion packages and ran into some foot guns and road helper functions and stuff. So I think I'm primed, ready to go for this.
Nice. If you did something there, we just talked a bit about using issues here in the repository to track all things.
Yeah, I definitely. I can. I think I posted a little snippet or maybe a link, but yeah, I ran into some stuff that Yeah, we had talked about like some performance issues, and I definitely was hitting performance issues. And I mean, it was when I was like doing goofy stuff, like when I tried to use readdir to like construct my list of every project, which I don't recommend doing. You should keep like, which I mean, I shouldn't have tried to do that, but I was just being lazy. But like having a flat file that has like key values for like package name to the absolute path, or like to the path from relative to like the root, I strongly suggest, because otherwise it is a lot of readdir.
Wait, so you did the thing with having a single file that is like automatically generated or something like that?
Yeah, and so basically I have an update script that anytime I add a new package, it regenerates, and it just like adds a new path to the list. But that made a night and day difference. I mean, it cut like probably a minute off the load time for the repo. Which I mean that it was taking. I mean, it was taking over a minute to run readdir over everything.
That's evaluation time, a minute?
Yeah, that was like load, like startup time. Anytime you would do anything with the flake, if you had changed anything in the repo, the flake would like get angry and say, "Oh, I got to reevaluate everything." And it was just so much readdir that it would have to like walk the full tree again and reconstruct the list of projects. So like by just having a flat file that was just like key values for like package name to the path where like that project lived, that was way faster.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. But yeah,
I was shocked
please
by how
open
slow
like
it
an
was.
issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, please open an issue about this and link to the things you tried. We can definitely.
The other one was definitely like when you. Yeah, go ahead.
We can definitely improve on this with like a built-in read list directory or so, list dir. Just not doing the stat calls on everything.
We don't need a new name for it. We can just make it lazy.
Well, I looked at it. If we make it lazy, we still need to loop through it and create all the thunks for all of the.
That's not important because this is really a detail. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I was thinking this like
because we can switch between either solution. It's this is not what the work is. This is not.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I do think in practice, when you start working on it, if it takes a minute to load the repo, it does hurt your ability to work on it, which is the thing I was running into. But I agree that, like, in theory, you could swap out.
By sharding, did we mean like A/A names, B/B names?
Yeah, yeah.
And that was making it slower.
Oh, right.
Well, so it was, and actually, it wasn't the sharding in particular. It was like making an individual. Making one giant flat like list was, I guess, easier in the sense that you could call readdir once and you would have like the full list of paths versus having to traverse into every subdirectory that had a shard and like trying to like merge all those together. And just for context too, I had like, this was like 8,000 packages, so there was a lot. But
it shouldn't take a minute. I mean,
How did you do the sharding?
So I did in Node. There's like scopes. So like you have like a scope for packages, and then you have the base name. So that was like I was using the scope names as one kind of like, and this is going to be different from the Nixpkgs one, but like I was using the scopes as one directory, and then each project would have like its base name as another subdirectory, and then for projects that didn't have a scope, that was where I used sharding. So I had like unscope /L/lodash, where like the first letter of every package became the shard directory.
Okay.
And yeah, that was the part where I was like experimenting with this most.
A problem could be that Nix has linear time attribute set union, which is just bad. We do a lot of unioning. That should be quick. Like I think sharding should be done because file system issues. And conversely, if there are issues either way with like the evaluator itself, those should just be fixed. The file system's out of our control, but Nix is in our control, and we should do what makes sense.
Yeah, I do still think this is a good idea. It was good that I was experimenting with it and shot myself in the foot a few times to find out like, oh, shouldn't have done that. That was a bad idea. Yeah, for the other one is like, if you make a helper function that's like, tell me the shard directory for this thing, don't forget to call to lower on the shard part. Because you'll get different results between Linux and Darwin.
Oh God, yeah.
Because Darwin treats uppercase and lowercase file names and file paths as being interchangeable.
Yeah,
Linux does not.
It depends on the file system.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But
I think we should be a little defensive.
Yeah, from my perspective, it was like I ran it on my work computer that was like OS X. And I got different results than when I ran it on my x86 Linux box, and was just like, why? And then when it clicked, I was like, shit. And yeah, I mean, the other one was like, I know like to lower is probably like a whole routine. It probably makes sense to just have like literally an attribute set that maps single character, like capital A to lowercase a, just to speed that up, since we don't need to like process a whole list like they're doing with to lower. But
there's a way to make that faster with some thunk thing. Yeah. But yes. But yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, I guess Alex, do you want to like? Can I assign you to the issue to figure out the sharding a bit?
Yeah.
Let me look at these here. Oh no, that's the wrong one.
Yeah, I mean, what was good was like it did fix the issue with GitHub, where like I can go and look on GitHub and be able to like browse through all the directories. Everything shows up on. It all fits like in a single page, which was nice. And I mean, just like working on the repo, I did find that it was like easier to navigate. It was more like, it did become slightly more annoying when you're trying to like write a script that like processes batches of projects, because you have to like, you can't just like use regular file names to naively assume that they're going to line up with the project. But like, that was like not a big deal. It was just like one of those that I kept being like, wishing I could just treat them all as regular file names.
Yeah. I do quickly want to tell you about the things we discussed earlier. So the main question there we took a look at is this pull request by Robert. Some of that is not, needs to be changed a bit, but the general idea is to, instead of using the default .nix file, to use another file name. So, for example, package-function.nix. He wrote down some benefits of this down here, or why we shouldn't use default.nix.
Yeah, I haven't read this yet, but I do agree that like, I think the default.nix, I liked having it would load default args and stuff like that, where like the actual package definition leaving it
can be buildable.
Well, yeah. So like right now in Nixpkgs, there's no default args on the majority of the builders.
Right.
So like I can't run nix build in the directory because it won't know where to find the args, versus like a default.nix. At least the way that I would always write those more recently was like the default.nix was basically just like, this will go and like fill in missing args and like run my thing.
That's
and like the overlays never
interesting
touched
for the future.
Yeah, my overlays and stuff never touched the default.nix. They would always go like at the actual package.
doing that doesn't scale to Nixpkgs because
Well, yeah.
in a lot of cases we have some special arguments that go into the package or something.
Mhm.
So actually what I would recommend is to add a default.nix. That default.nix can import Nix packages and get the package. And that way you don't have to duplicate any of your default arguments either.
I would leave that out, but I definitely agree. We could just have a new idiom, only have a default.nix if you can just build the thing. I think that's just a good ground rule.
Wait, we only have the default.nix when we can't build
like this,
it, or
a default.nix that does that is something that you can just cd to the directory and run commands with. So that's a valid default.nix. I'm not sure we should have that specific one because it kind of violates what I would call the things that know their own name principle. But that's the second concern. I think that definitely part we can all agree on is we save the default.nix name for things that aren't a foot gun.
Yeah, I agree with your argumentation. I think just for practicality, it does make sense for this to know its name. Because otherwise, all you have is a function, and there's no way to use it. So I think you're right that it's a small architectural violation, but I think it's benign.
Yeah, I mean, to the extent that the directory names are supposed to be one-to-one with the attributes, it's less bad. So I'm I'm not digging my heels on this one.
Okay, just to write this down
I can write it.
Yeah, that would be nice. Also, Robert, if you have your arguments, I didn't quite get this.
Yeah, I was basically agreeing. So it's fine. Leave it out.
Yeah. All right. Oh, I see.
Was there? I saw in the notes, and this was one that I'd been thinking about recently too. Was there a note about separating the builders from the package defs?
Builders from the package definitions. Well, how do you mean that?
Well, no, I just was reading the notes. I wasn't sure. So, for example, you've got your package defs, but do you put trivial.nix or build support? Do those live in packages / or?
I think we pretty much I think we pretty much reached agreement on this, that we, for now at least, only say that the RFC is for packages.
Yeah.
And for functions and other special values well, especially functions. I mean, these are a big case where it's these aren't packages. Should they be in the package directory? Yeah. So
but yeah, that could be a separate RFC. But yeah, I just wasn't sure if we were going to have a auto / standard env or something like that.
Yeah.
Standard env maybe not a good example, but auto /
So yeah, that is something I will have to change. That is something I will have to change about the RFC, the current implementation, which it does have fetch from GitHub. So this would be no good. I'm gonna have to change this.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. This was exactly what I was asking about.
Of ones like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in terms of navigating the code base to find that, I agree with that. It's I think it makes sense to have it organized in a flat directory, but I think that maybe it's always confused me that the builders and the helper functions live next to the packages or
it is really hard to. I feel like in the end it might be easier to have an actual flat directory representing all the attributes directly, no matter
Right, but-
what the values is.
But the attributes should not be next to each other either.
Yeah,
Like-
so if we change them, it's going to be both the attributes and the directories in one go. So they always, ideally, they should always match.
Yeah, well,
maybe
we're
should they?
we're in the process of making the attributes match the directory. Because we're in the process, I think we have leeway to be non-committal without regressing. As we get closer, as once we've like converted all the packages, then we need to make a decision about the non-packages.
Mm-hmm.
And so I agree. We eventually have to decide, but at that point, we can either decide they should stay in the same attribute set, and therefore they should go in the same directory, or we could decide they should go in a different attribute set, and therefore they should go in a different directory. And both of those preserve the cardinal rule that the attribute structure and the directory structure could match. They just observe that rule in different ways.
Yeah. I guess to some degree, though, it matters a bit because, well, according to and I think that's also part of shorten the path here, that we might not want to have the auto thing. Well, it's not.
Well, if we end up converting everything, then we can get rid of the auto thing because it becomes redundant. But until we've converted everything, it's not redundant.
So you think it's okay to, for now, have perhaps a location that's not final, that might still change in the future.
Yeah, I mean,
which will make it a bit annoying to have to change paths twice in like, I don't know, a couple of years.
I mean, as I was saying at Nixcon, I still think the location of things in the repo right now is the implementation detail. And I mean, I'm not against having that migration, but I think it's really going out of our way, doing the thing that is not necessary. And it's fine to do extra work. It's like polite to do extra work, but I don't want us to then allow that to influence expectations that actually file names are supposed to be public, when I don't think that's the case today. And I don't think it
I think that's good.
Yeah,
file names, right? Just file paths in general in Nixpkgs generally are an implementation detail. We shouldn't have to restrict ourselves to always keeping them the same.
Yeah, any extra migration thing we do is best effort.
I think
let's that we have a lot of PRs that that need to be rebased significantly whenever we do this kind of thing. So we can say it's an implementation detail and you shouldn't depend on it, but we have a lot of contributors and a lot of PRs.
I mean I agree. I mean, there's no conflict there. PRs to Nixpkgs change the implementation, and the implementation is aware of the rest of the implementation. So we shouldn't go crazy doing things that cause conflicts. But a tool that can fix up the PRs versus compatibility layer for things that live out of the tree. The tool that can fix PRs has more leeway to just do things. Versus the compatibility layer assumes downstream can't use tooling, and needs a lightweight solution. What's up about?
Yeah. I agree with this, John. It's really the end goal is that we want to have a stable API, and that means stable attribute names. It doesn't mean stable file paths, and peers change the implementation, not the API. So it should be fine. Can we quickly go back to the name here, just to briefly reach this. Robert, what do you think of PKG fun?
Whichever one is the majority that has something function-like in it. So I guess that's PKG fun.
All right.
Well, P-Funk.
P-Thunk. Well,
No,
Thunk is kind of an
P-Funk.
implementation.
There's a band called Parliament. There's a
Oh.
make my funk the P-Funk.
That's pretty funny.
Nice. But no. We
No.
can't do that.
We
But
could
yeah,
just-
I had to try. I mean, come on.
if we were some like cultist GNU project, we would just say GeorgeClinton.nix and it'd be up to you
that's
to figure it out.
that's a good idea. I'm gonna name the next repo I make is gonna be GeorgeClinton.nix or Eddie Hazel.nix.
Yeah.
but yeah, Alex, what do you think?
I'm cool with any of those. I think PKG fun is good, especially there's a lot of other tools that use like package, and so if you're trying to like tab complete, having the PK tab would be nice versus PA, and then you have to, you know what I mean? So I like PKG. I'm just thinking from CLI if I'm trying to tab complete something, it'll be good having the K.
All right.
I'm thinking about ergonomics. I spend a lot of time hacking around these little CLI. Tab complete is important.
All right. Well, I guess that's good then for at least everybody who's here. Then, well, a lot of these were written down by Tom. Let's also ask him in like PR or so. But yeah, otherwise this sounds good then. Robert, can you update the peer a bit to, well, I mean, shorten the path. I guess that's not entirely accurate. And then mainly just update the details to mention the file path here.
I think it would be good to like call out really early the no misleading default.nixes. I mean, Robert did add that and today, but that's a really nice feature. Like, I don't, I often have a bad memory of what it was like when I was learning things, and I only remember what it was like after I already learned the thing. But I actually do quite distinctly remember like seeding to directories and running things build and being like, well, this sucks.
Yeah, so. Every time I teach like coworkers how to use Nix, this is always one that I have to like explain and be like, okay, just the way that the most popular Nix repository treats package or default.nix is like not the way you should treat it, which is that one's people always look at you sideways, just like, oh great, seems like a cool tool you're trying to sell us.
Right.
Did we decide on the directory name where basically PKG / something or PKG singular?
That's true. That's another bike shed one.
Yes. I feel like since we do kind of need this auto directory for now, since we have kind of both structures at the moment, it doesn't really matter that much because it should be temporary in the end, hopefully. So I feel like auto would be okay. And if we, well, wait, Robert, you said PKG, right? Directory, let's call it roots. So you said, so this is Nixpkgs, in Nixpkgs root PKG auto, or without the auto, just PKG?
Yeah, because the auto is implied by it being PKG fun. Yeah, this would be the.
But well, if I tab complete packages, it's gonna throwing off my tab complete, man.
Oh yeah, that's a bit technical.
What do you? Well, I mean, what would you call the name things in your long-term vision, Robert? They have, the modules, documentation, other things. Are they packages? Are they like?
Yeah, I've thought about that, and if you generalize what's in them, you kind of generalize beyond packages.
Right.
But finding a good name for that, I don't know. I thought maybe component, but that's like takes hours to type. Thing.
Module, mod. Oh no, modules we already have. Shit.
Yeah. So I figured it wouldn't be bad at that point to keep PKG as just a name for whatever it is.
What about?
It doesn't say package, right? It's PKG.
Yeah. The only one that I would recommend in the long, like if we're talking long term, would be like putting the build functions, like especially like the trivial.nix stuff and the fetchers under like util slash as, or just anything that's like separate from things that use them. And I think like
that's lib, I guess.
well, but because lib has to be pure and can't be system dependent. Util could be system dependent and would be a part of, you know what I mean? Like in theory, like lib should be consumed without any sense of what platform you're using.
By the way, I
there's
did
packages
this. Lib. Yeah, it's not a super great name, but
no. But I did like that, and I did. And I think what I mean is like, so like especially like the trivial.nix builders, like where those are essentially wrappers around standard ENB make derivation. Or like in my head, like that's like a util thing, but I can't like build link farm with no args, you know?
Yeah. But I think that's a separate discussion. We are about out of time now, though. But Robert, did you write this down here?
I wrote those three.
Erickson, I do like unit.
I like
actually.
unit. Those 4 letters. I can't think of anything else that's going to tab complete on you.
I like that as well.
Cool.
Yeah. So it would be unit name, and then I mean all the Nix files.
Yeah, like people do fun. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's too big of a step for this RFC.
Oh yeah. I thought we were just spitballing ideas here for.
Yeah.
I thought we were just bike shedding.
Wait, what's the biggest step? Sorry.
I said it might be too big of a step to use this structure for the RFC, like introduce another top level unit.
Oh yeah.
Directory. But I guess Johnson, you wrote the.
I was thinking short term and just names within packages for now, with no opinion on what the eventual long term structure is.
Okay, so but I'll propose. Oh.
I don't really. I'm like making a big fuss about having something within packages. And so conversely, I'll really back off on what that thing is. If you all oblige me with just putting them in some directory, I'll be very happy and have no need to bike shed what the name of that directory is.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's just a name in the end. It's not like that's gonna determine the future of Nix packages.
Right. Yeah, and to your point earlier, I think it's good if we're writing RFC to call out. We're trying to think ahead, but a big advantage of standardization is that there should be less ossifying. So if we want a new convention later, you can just convert all the uniform things to do the new convention. So people shouldn't, freak out with this RFC that like it'll be another 20 years before we change our names again, have to get it perfect.
Yeah, so I guess just like encouraging faster or encouraging more evolution.
Mm-hmm.
This is a fun one about standardization, where you get to use the idea of strictness to make an argument about how it provides flexibility.
Yeah.
It seems like a
One of those-
contradiction, but it actually is the case.
Yeah. That's it's like one of those 1984 things. War is peace.
Yes. Yeah.
Discipline
All right.
is flexibility.
But yeah, this has been interesting. Let's end the meeting now. I need a break, but
Can I just
yeah.
express my opinion so we can actually settle this?
Oh, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
So I think, well, first of all, Pkg/unit, that's unnecessary because unit is only relevant for like the second step thing that I had in mind that we're not going to do, right? We're not going to do unit. So I can agree with Pkg/auto on the premise that we have really good tooling to do the rename. So it's like a Nix language aware rename tool, and probably something to process the PRs, and then it's fine with me.
Sorry, I didn't quite get the thing at the end. Your mic is a bit